We are live. We are live. I'm Dr. Frita, and guess what? It's Medical Monday. Yes, it is. And I'm very excited. And that, first of all, that y'all woke up and y'all came in time after Super Bowl Sunday. Must have on the beat, bro. So excited about that. But let me let you know what's about to happen today. As always, I'm bringing you all of the hot health headlines that made the news. We're going to start off with my favorite game, myth versus fact. And we'll discuss the question: did diabetes cause the loss of life for Irv Gotti? And so we'll talk about myth versus fact when it comes to diabetes and how it relates to stroke. And then we'll get into your weekly dose, where I'll give you a spin on the health topics and the headlines that you cannot get anywhere else. I give you a fresh take. We'll open up by talking about Wendy Williams. We know that her guardian stated that she was permanently impaired, okay, and that she had a diagnosis of frontotemporal dementia. But Wendy Williams has been shouting out, and she has been speaking. She says that she does not have a diagnosis. Wendy Williams said that Wendy Williams does not have a diagnosis of frontotemporal dementia, and Wendy Williams states that she is not permanently impaired. We'll talk about that. And then we'll get into Kanye West. Oh my gosh, y'all know Kanye West came and took over the Grammys red carpet with his wife. Well, now Kanye says that he has a diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder. Ooh, what do you think? Well, we'll break it down and we'll talk about autism spectrum disorder, the diagnosis in adults and what it means. And then remember, February is Heart Disease Awareness Month. And I will give you America's report card when it comes to heart disease. And lastly, I'll give you a quick segment on a 5-minute health check. I'll just give you quick information on some more of the headlines. We'll talk about bird flu. We'll talk about food recalls that you need to know about. We'll talk about microplastics being found in the brain. And then at the end, I'll give you a few seconds. All throughout, we're going to have a live, of course, interaction, a little bit of a live Q&A. But remember, if you want the full Q&A, click the link in the description, join our membership community. I'll tell you more about it. But first, go ahead and give this video a like and share it, because I'm about to give you some evidence-based information. This is Medical Monday. I'm Dr. Frita. Let's get started. Welcome, welcome. We are live. I'm Dr. Frita, and let's go ahead and get this thing started. This is Medical Monday. I'll be giving you all the hot health topics and the headlines, but you know I'm not doing it alone. Co-host, practice manager, Miss Shador, please come to the stage. How are you doing, Shador?
Doing well, Dr. Frita. How are you?
I am on cloud 9. Had a wonderful weekend. Of course, it was filled with basketball. Went to a few parties. Don't worry about that. Work hard, play hard. You play hard. Y'all know how it is. And of course, the Super Bowl. Shador, I know y'all watched the Super Bowl in your house.
Of course, we did.
Oh my goodness. We had so much fun. And yes, I was for the Eagles, specifically for Jalen Hurts, the quarterback who won MVP. Super excited about that. But you know, I was also rooting for Kendrick Lamar. Say what? Did you see that halftime show?
Yeah, I sure did.
It was a trip, because Shador, you know, I like to dance and I like to see glitz and glams and outfits and flipping and all of that. So it wasn't that type of show, right?
No,
but boy, when you pay attention to the genius behind it, there was so much messaging. I've had to keep going back and watching to see what all he had in there. And I also thought that Kendrick Lamar perhaps would not play They Not Like Us. You know, he did win the Grammys for a diss track. And so when he played it and he was like, "Murder on the beat, bro." My sister and I got up. We started dancing. My kids were like, "Mama, please sit down." And then when Serena Williams was up there doing the crip, I got up and started doing the crip walk. Avery was like, "Mama, please stop. They don't tell me what to do."
Oh my gosh.
But anyway, so that's the Super Bowl in the headlines. Now, Shador, let's talk about some of the hot health topics in the headlines, shall we?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. To all of my med heads, first off, who's the first one in the chat? Welcome, welcome.
Yes, ma'am. First in the chat today is Miss Aline. Hi.
Welcome back. Welcome back. It's always good to have you. Listen, I want you to participate because I have a lot of questions today. I know you participate. And please make sure you all put where you're watching us from, especially if it's from somewhere far, far from the Atlanta area. That's very exciting. And you know, we appreciate y'all who are right here close as well, of course. But you know, my favorite game, everybody, Myth versus fact. Yes, myth versus fact. So first of all, let's just we'll play a little clip of a video because you know that we lost the music producer, the founder of Murder Inc., the music mogul, Irv Gotti, at the age of 54. Now, his official cause of death, to my knowledge, has not been confirmed. There were some rumors, but here's what we do know. Reportedly, Irv Gotti had a diagnosis of diabetes, and he also had a stroke. This is what we do know. And so a lot of people have been speculating. But one thing that I'm learning, Shador, that many people don't know is that there is a direct link between diabetes and strokes. And so let's first roll this clip and then go ahead and get your pens and pencils ready because I'm going to talk to you about the myth versus fact when it comes to diabetes and diabetes relationships to strokes.
This ain't no job for me, man. I love music and I was born to do what I was doing. This ain't no job. That's why I could work 24, 48 hours. Sometimes, in real talk, sometimes I've worked for 2 days straight, no sleep. And I don't care because it's not really a job to me. I love what I do.
Irv Gotti, music producer and founder of Murder Inc. Records, has died. He was 54 years old. The Hollywood Reporter was first to confirm the music mogul's death, and though a cause has not been revealed, it's reported Gotti suffered a stroke last year.
I'm a worker, and I love my family, and I know my family depends on me to do a lot of things. So if it comes time for me to kick in, Gotti's going to kick in. And if it means directing the video, marketing, promotions, I don't care. If it means me handing out flyers, I'll hand out flyers. I have no pride when it comes to my family. I have no ego when it comes to my family. It's whatever has to be done.
All right. Yeah. So, very sad to hear that Irv Gotti passed away at 54. That's pretty young. But, Shador, there's been lots of kind of buzzings and hummings around. And for those of you, especially some of y'all who are younger, in the 90s and the 2000s, I'm telling you, Irv Gotti's music was it. Okay. I'm sure you're familiar with Ashanti, who's now having a baby or had a baby from Nelly. But Ashanti is someone, I used to really like Ashanti. But anyway, she was really good. And so he was responsible for producing a lot of her hits, Ja Rule, things of that. If y'all haven't heard Ashanti's song Foolish, and specifically watching that video, okay, with Terrence Howard, just classic. At any rate, he even Irv Gotti directed some of the videos that they had. So he really did, hold a lot of hats. But one of the hats that he also held reportedly was a diagnosis of diabetes. So Shador, if you don't mind putting up our first myth versus fact statement. And for everyone in the chat, come on, participate now. I want you for the first myth, let's go ahead and put that up. Put an M1 if you think that this is a myth. Put an F1 if you think that this is a fact. Shador, could you please read this first statement?
Yes, ma'am. Diabetes only affects blood sugar levels, not other body systems.
All right. Diabetes only affects blood sugar levels, not other body systems. Put an M1 if you think it's a myth, if you think the statement is not true. Put an F1 if you think this is a fact. All right, let's pull up myth versus fact statement number 2. Shador, if you'll pull that up and read that one too, please.
Managing diabetes is solely about taking insulin.
All right. I bet a lot of y'all know this answer. Ooh, I can't wait. All right, managing diabetes is solely about taking insulin. Put an M2 if you think this one is a myth, if this is not true. Put an F2 if you think that this one is also a fact. All right, pencils down. Let's get into the discussion. Let's see. I hope y'all had time to answer.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Pulling back that first one. All right. What were the answers to this first one, please? Who thought it was a myth? Who thought it was a fact?
Diabetes only affects blood sugar levels, not only body systems. TS.
Hi, TS. Welcome back.
Myth.
Okay. You think it's a myth. You think it affects a whole lot more than just blood sugar levels. All right, TS.
Mr. Randy says
hi there, Mr. Randy. Myth.
All
right.
Andrea also agrees it's a myth.
Okay.
So does Jasmine. Hi, Jasmine.
Myth. All right. Hi, Jasmine.
Our member only, Miss Kim, says a myth.
Hi, Miss Kim. Welcome to the members. Listen, y'all, we've got some new membership sections. You got to check them out. You can click the link in the description. We have different levels. The top level is where you're going to have a live Q&A where instead of me just giving you the medical information and medical headlines in the news, you'll get a chance to grab your questions, ask me, take advantage of all of the education that I have. And for those of you who are new here, I am Dr. Frita. I'm an MD. I'm a medical doctor. I've been board certified in nephrology. So I'm a board certified kidney doctor and high blood pressure doctor. I've been board certified in internal medicine, pediatrics, most recently board certification in obesity medicine. So if you want to take advantage of all this knowledge that I love to share and get your own personal question, your personal questions asked, just join the membership at the top level and you'll get a chance to ask me questions. Anyone, all the members, y'all know, we just talk back and forth. You can ask all the questions throughout the section. All right. So we've had a bunch of myths. Do we have any facts, Shador?
Yes, we have a couple. Yes, Miss Ann says a fact.
Okay. So you think it's all about the sugar, not other systems, Miss Ann. Stay on, Miss Ann.
And
Okay.
CJ also agrees it's a fact.
You think it's a fact. All right. Let's go ahead and drum roll, please. All right. So diabetes only affects the blood sugar levels. It does not affect other systems. That is a myth. And it's a very strong myth. And so I'm glad that we're talking about it. Thank you to everyone who participated because yes, we know that diabetes occurs when you have elevated levels of sugar in the blood. Okay. And it can be caused by a couple of reasons. For type 1 diabetes, which is not as common, diabetes mellitus type 1, it occurs when your body does not make enough insulin. Okay. And we know that insulin is something that's secreted by the pancreas. And insulin, just think of insulin as a key. Okay. You need that key to unlock your cells because every cell in your body needs sugar or glucose. Well, in type 1 diabetes, you don't have enough keys. Okay. The pancreas doesn't make enough insulin. But in diabetes mellitus type 2, which by far is the most common type, you have keys. You got plenty of keys. Okay. Lots of insulin, but the keys don't work. And so your body still does not unlock those cells. And so instead of blood sugar being in the cells where it's needed, the blood sugar is just out in your bloodstream. And so it's hyperglycemia. And that can lead not only to having high blood sugar, but this is why that statement is a myth. It affects other organs. It can affect your arteries, give you poor circulation. That's why when you think about it, a lot of people with diabetes poorly controlled will have to get amputations. Okay. It can also cause poor wound healing. Or if you have diabetes, you're walking around barefoot and you get some type of a sore, well, you might have a neuropathy. And so you don't feel it in your feet and your toes. They're tingling, they're numb. And you can get a really bad sore, gangrene, have to have an amputation. That's because the high blood sugar affects your blood flow, your wound healing, and it can affect your heart. Diabetes puts you at risk for heart attacks. And guess what? Diabetes, high blood sugar can put you at risk for having a stroke. Okay. And so right now, reportedly, Irv Gotti did have diabetes. We know that he had at least one stroke. We don't know. It's not confirmed his actual cause of passing away, but diabetes can certainly affect systems. And guess what? I just told you I'm a board certified kidney doctor. Guess what the number one cause of kidney failure is? Diabetes. So yes, it's very serious. It affects all kinds of systems. And so it's very important to know about it. If you go right here to my YouTube channel, where you are right now, Dr. Frita, where we have Shador, we have over 830,000 subscribers. Y'all come on and subscribe. Help us get to 1 million. But if you go, you look up Dr. Frita Diabetes, I have many, many videos with diabetes explained where I give you more information, and I'm solutions oriented. So I talk about proper diets and what to do to help you to manage your diabetes, always consulting your physician, of course. All right. Thank y'all for participating. Let's go to myth versus fact statement number 2, Shador.
All right. Managing diabetes is solely about taking insulin. Majority of our viewers today are saying a myth.
Thank y'all. Okay, what you got? Give me just a couple. Any members participate?
Yes, we do have one member. Miss Kim is participating strongly.
Hi, Miss Kim. You on today, Miss? What Miss Kim say?
Miss Kim said that it is. One moment. She says a myth.
Absolutely. Okay. You are correct, Miss Kim. I'll just go ahead and get to the nitty gritty. Yeah, we know it's not just about taking insulin, right? Because I already mentioned in diabetes type 2, a lot of people already have enough insulin. They have that key, but the keys don't work. That means you have to take other medications possibly to make your cells more sensitive to the insulin. Okay. You want to increase your insulin sensitivity. So there's different medicines. We have metformin. And then, of course, we have some drugs these are not insulin, but the GLP-1 agonists, like the shots, which, yes, they were originally for diabetes. So that's the Ozempic, that's the Mounjaro, okay? The Ozempic being the semaglutide, Mounjaro being the tirzepatide. Those are helpful, okay? They can help your body to make more insulin, but it's not just giving insulin. And, there's other things you can do as well to help with diabetes. And y'all can go ahead and start putting in the chat, if you will, what else other than just insulin can help you to manage your diabetes. Okay. But yeah, it's not just about it. While y'all are putting that in the chat, I do want you all, after you finish watching this live, to check out a short form video I did. If you go to my Instagram at dr.frita, well, remember, I have different content on Instagram oftentimes than I have here on YouTube. I did a short form video where I talked about Irv Gotti, and I actually talk about stroke, and I talk about 15 risk factors that actually may surprise you. So check that short form content out after you finish watching this on my Instagram. And give me a follow, please. Thank you. All right. Did anyone jump in this quickly, Shador, and mention?
Yeah, basil.
Hi, Hazel.
Basil.
Oh, basil, like what? Oh, basil leaves or basil in a lemon infused water. Hi, basil.
Basil says cutting carbs.
Thank you, basil. Yes, cutting carbs and having high lean proteins in the diet, having high fruits and vegetables, especially green leafy vegetables. So using food as medicine, right, basil? That's absolutely something that can help to manage diabetes, not just about insulin or even just about medicine. All right, anyone else?
Yes, Miss Laura, hello.
Hi, Miss Laura.
Chimed in with a few: diet, exercise, and blood sugar monitoring.
You got it. Diet, exercise, blood sugar monitoring. We know that exercise, it can help for a few reasons. So it can help you to maintain a healthy weight, just like a proper diet and low carbs. And so having less fat on your body, specifically belly fat, abdominal obesity. Yeah. If you lose abdominal fat, that can help improve your insulin sensitivity. That can help those cells to allow the insulin to work. Absolutely. Use food as medicine. And of course, work in conjunction with your doctor. But I have many patients, Shador, you know this, who have technically a diagnosis of diabetes, meaning they've had a hemoglobin A1C that's been over the 6.4 at one point. But once they lose weight, get to a healthy weight, have low carbs, have exercise, lots of water drinking, many patients will drop their hemoglobin A1C where they don't need medicine at all. They become diet controlled. Okay. And so, yes, those are very good. Thank you.
Yeah, and the majority are chiming in with those same few, but Miss Aline threw on a different one.
What you say, Miss Aline?
Getting enough rest.
Getting enough rest. Now I'm going to tell you about this one. We know that if you're sleep deprived, Miss Aline, that can lead to stress. Stress can cause you to have cortisol spikes, right? That stress hormone. Cortisol spikes can lead to high blood sugar. Absolutely. So getting enough rest and managing your stress can be another way to help to manage your diabetes, something that has nothing to do directly with insulin. All right, those are real good. All right, very good. So, of course, our prayers go out for, Irv Gotti's family, his loved ones, his fans. And as always, right here on this channel, we take these headlines and we use them in a way that can help us to live our healthiest and happiest lives. And we're very educational about it. So, please take this, please share this. And yes, make sure you give this video a like and share it. It lets the other folks at YouTube, it lets them know that we're here giving evidence-based information, and it helps with the algorithm as well. So please go ahead and share this video as we move on to the next section. Oh, I love the myth versus fact. I don't know why I love that so much, Shador, but I do. All right. So now let's move on to weekly dose, where I give you a weekly dose of the health headlines in the news. I give you a fresh take that you just can't get anywhere else. Let's get started with Wendy Williams. How you doing? Listen, y'all already know I'm a Wendy Williams fan. I don't even pretend. Okay. I don't even pretend. I watched her show daily. I recorded it. Yes, I did, when she would do her hot topics. Love Wendy. She's my same height. She's 5'11". So she would give different beauty hacks, on people who need extra long pants and what she would do. Okay. She would buy 2 pairs of the same jeans. Of course, that requires a little piece of money and she has lots of money, certainly did then. Anyway, and she would just elongate her pants. So some of the health hacks I could follow, some I couldn't. She talked about the shoes, the clothes with extra long length, all that kind of stuff. And I just enjoyed that she had such banter. She would jump from topic to topic. So I know people talk about that with the recent diagnosis that her guardian says she has, but she always jumped from topic to topic. And she just had a high intellect, a high level of messiness. Okay. She was messy. And of course, we know now from the documentary that came out with Lifetime a little while ago, and they talked about, what's happening to Wendy Williams. And they shared that she had frontotemporal dementia, okay, and primary progressive aphasia. Well, guess what? Wendy's now been on all types of interviews. She's been on The Breakfast Club. She's been on Jason Lee, Hollywood Unlocked. She talked to Don Lemon on the Don Lemon Show. And she's very clear in a lot of her thought. And she outright has stated that she does not have a diagnosis of frontotemporal dementia. She stated that she's not permanently impaired. And so we are going to talk about it. And I want you to go ahead and put in the chat, for those of you who followed the story, from what you've seen in her recent interviews, do you think that she's permanently impaired? Or do you think that the guardianship is up to some mess? The guardian is up to some mess. So you go ahead and put that in the answers. Meanwhile, I'll just tell you what frontotemporal dementia is, primary progressive aphasia. And so we'll use this to go ahead and talk about, that health aspect of it. And then I'm curious to see what you say in the chat. Do you think, she sounded crazy? Not crazy, but she sounded like she was, having dementia. She does sound permanently impaired. Or do you think that just like what came out with the conservatorship with Britney Spears, do you think that this guardianship, conservatorship situation is kind of out of control? And just remember, guardianship, conservatorship, they're essentially the same thing, just different states have different names. In New York, where Wendy is, they call it a guardianship when you have an adult who's able to come in and they make all of your decisions. They can make personal decisions like your healthcare decisions, your travel decisions, and they can even be a guardian over your properties where they have control of your money, lawsuits, bank accounts. Okay. And then in California, for example, they call it a conservatorship, but same thing. They're coming in and they're taking over for an adult. Okay. So frontotemporal dementia. So when we think about dementia, we classically think of it occurring in people who are of an older age, right? Definitely older than 65, in the 70s, 80s. And we know that Alzheimer's is the most common form of dementia. We also think about Parkinson's and things of that nature. With frontotemporal dementia, it tends to affect people who are younger, okay? Most people get symptoms between the ages of 40 and 65, okay? And with frontotemporal dementia, as the name suggests, it affects the frontal lobe, like that part of your brain right here in the front behind your forehead. Go ahead, forehead. It can also affect the part of the brain, the temporal lobes, and those are on either side of your head, like kind of right above the ears. So for the frontal lobe, that's responsible for a lot of high executive functioning, like being able to come up with the schedule, keep up with your calendar, being able to, write a check. So you keep up with your organizing in school, in balancing work, life, executive functioning. The frontal lobe also helps with your impulse control, okay? Keeping you from blurting out curse words in the middle of public or in the middle of church. If something makes you mad, it helps you to control impulses, all right? And so those are just a couple of the functions of the frontal lobe. The temporal lobes are responsible for a lot of memory, okay, making new memories and holding on to new memories. The temporal lobes are also responsible for language, being able to understand language and being able to speak language. And so it stands to reason that if you get frontotemporal dementia, you might have issues with impulse control, where you're out there insulting people or perhaps letting some of your bodily functions go instead of holding it and doing it in private rooms. You might lose the ability to organize your day, write a check, things of that matter. Speech, you might be unable to understand and process language well. You might repeat yourself over and over again, saying the same things, and you may lose memory. The thing with frontotemporal dementia is that it's progressive, and there are different types. They said that she had primary aphasia, okay? And so with that, language would be affected. And if you actually watch that documentary, the Lifetime documentary, and there's a lawsuit involved, don't put me in it, I ain't got it. There's now a lawsuit involved. But if you watch that documentary, you'll note that she really did seem like she was having an issue with language. She was having a difficulty expressing herself, finding words. We know that Wendy Williams is a wordsmith. So she was having those difficulties. She did seem to have confusion. But fast forward to the interview she's doing now, she's speaking pretty clearly. Her memory is quite excellent, and she just seems like someone who's not fitting what's classic for FTD. Is that possible? I want to see what y'all are saying in the comments. Do y'all think, for those of you who've been keeping up with the story, does it seem like she's permanently impaired, or do you think there should be some type of an investigation with this guardian? Any comments?
No one coming on that, Dr. Frita.
Okay.
And asks that what Bruce Willis has. FTD.
Absolutely. Who said that? Bring him to the front of the class.
Miss Ann.
Hi, Miss Ann. Absolutely. Okay, good work. That's a great midhead. So yes, Bruce Willis, you know that he's the actor. For those of y'all, go ahead and share your age, from back in Moonlighting, of course, Die Hard, my favorite Bruce Willis movie, Sixth Sense. Yes, brilliant actor, right? Brilliant actor. He has frontotemporal dementia. And for him, he started losing the ability to retain lines. Okay, so he couldn't keep up with the scripts. And then his speech started really decreasing. This is according to his family and to his ex-wife, Demi Moore. And they said that the speech was just gone to the point where he cannot act. The family made that decision for him. He got diagnosed in his 60s. And so that matches, okay, between the ages of 40 and 65. And so, yes, that's absolutely right. He has frontotemporal dementia. Okay.
Ms. Veronica chimed in about Wendy.
Hi, Miss Veronica.
She says, from observation, she may need help as well. The detox from alcohol may have helped her be a little more alert, but I don't think this guardian is on the up and up.
All right. You brought up alcohol. I'm glad you went there, because one thing that was also said in that documentary, her son mentioned it. He said that he was told that she might have something called alcohol-induced dementia. Okay, that's a real thing. A lot of similar symptoms. We can run through some of the similarities. One similarity, alcohol-induced dementia. You can have an issue with memory, retaining memories. You can have a difficulty with speech. You can have impulse control issues with alcohol dementia. Something that happens with alcohol dementia, especially if you have an issue with your proper nutrition, you can get a vitamin B1 deficiency, thiamine deficiency. If it's alcohol-induced dementia, once your nutrition improves and you're getting the proper vitamins, including the thiamine, then a lot of that dementia will resolve. If it's truly frontotemporal dementia, then the nutrition support will not help, okay? And you notice in that documentary, she was exceedingly thin. Prior to all of this, even the Wendy Williams show, back when she was a radio host, Wendy Williams was living with obesity in a lot of cases. Yes, she was a tall woman. Her weight, she shared her weight at different times. We know that she was well above the 200s. And I think after her pregnancy, she shared that she got into the 300s as far as weight. She was exceedingly thin. And I believe she shared that she had gotten down to the 130s, 5'11", 130s. And so say she was having nutritional deficiency and say what's related to, if it were related to alcohol dementia, then yeah, some nutrition support could improve the memory. But if it's frontotemporal dementia, that's not the case. It's progressive and there's no known cure. The other thing is that if you have alcohol-induced dementia, depending on the time of diagnosis and just how far gone you are in your level of dementia with alcohol, if you stop taking in alcohol, there's some improvement that can occur in your memory with alcohol-induced dementia. That's not the case for frontotemporal dementia. It's progressive, getting worse, getting worse. I believe that many of you will agree that even if you don't think she's back to being 100% Wendy, from these interviews that I've watched, and I've listened to the Don Lemon one, Jason Lee Unlocked, I've listened to both Breakfast Club interviews, she very much seems improved from the time we saw her in the documentary. That doesn't go with a progressive aphasia. Progressive, it should get worse. It doesn't go with frontotemporal dementia. I'm not her doctor. I have no access to her medical records. This is from the outside looking in, just by the pure definition of disease. It's not fitting the pure definition of frontotemporal dementia. Am I saying that she's 100%? No, not necessarily, but it makes me question, does she have permanent impairment? Does she need that guardian telling her whether or not she can go to her father's 94th birthday? Does she need the guardian having her living in the luxury prison as she describes? So yes, Ms. Veronica, I'm glad you brought up the alcohol, because it could be alcohol-induced dementia. But we'll move on to the next topic. Please, right here on this Dr. Frita YouTube channel, I did a whole series on Wendy Williams, her health. And it's a 6-part series. I have one part where I'm talking about frontotemporal dementia. And so if you put in the YouTube search bar, Dr. Frita, frontotemporal dementia, you'll see that video. I have a separate video in the series where I talk about alcohol-induced dementia. And so take a look at that. And then for those of you who are watching, and for those of you in the replay crew, hey, replay crew, give us a like, please, and subscribe if you haven't. I want for those of you in the replay crew also to go back and look and then come back and kind of comment, what do you think about Wendy Williams? Is she permanently impaired, or at very least, does she need to see what's going on with the guardian? I will say that her niece, Alex, and she are launching some legal questions. I don't know if it's called lawsuit at this point, but they are questioning the guardianship, because right now her family does not have guardianship over her. It's completely the Sabrina Morrissey guardian. And so we'll see where that goes. All right. But thank y'all for your participation in that Wendy Williams, and stay tuned, because yes, I will be shouting it out when I find out more information. All right, let's move on to the next topic in this weekly dose. Oh my goodness. Kanye West, also known as Ye. I think he goes by just Ye now. Now, let me just be the first to tell you, because I'm not going to even pretend, and I'm not going to just tell a tale. Kanye West, when he first came out, and even just throughout, I'm not going to pretend, I think he's a musical genius. I do. Just all the different songs, the College Dropout, Through the Fire, just he'll put in the double meanings, and you listen to the song, by the third time you catch it, you're like, oh shoot, genius. In recent years, he's done some things that are outside of what we would consider the norm. Some of his political aspirations. Do y'all remember when he said that he was walking for president? He said he wasn't running for president. He said he was walking for president. I can't. But most recently, of course, he is the ex-husband of Kim Kardashian. He's had lots of complaints saying that she doesn't let him see the kids as much as he would like. These are complaints he has launched in the past. I don't know if that's still the case. And he has that wife, for any of y'all who watched the Grammys, Bianca. She had some type of a cover up initially, but then when she took that cover up, she had a completely sheer dress. She was completely with no clothes on. He's always doing different things like that will draw attention. Well, Kim Kardashian shared that he had a diagnosis of bipolar disorder. Well, most recently, Kanye West says that his diagnosis is actually autism spectrum disorder. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share what autism spectrum disorder is. I'll give a few, comparisons and contrasts to bipolar disorder. But I want you to put in the chat, if you're following the story, do you think that he likely has autism disorder, or just based on what you know about it? Listen, y'all are not his doctors. As far as I know, I'm definitely not his doctor. But just, I'll go ahead and describe some of the comparisons and contrasts and tell me what you think. Do you think that the bipolar diagnosis that is shared by Kim is right on track, or do you think that he's probably right with autism spectrum disorder? Now, remember, y'all know this. Everyone has a right to privacy. Okay, so I'm up here, I'm talking about their health. We don't know, officially, we don't have to know. But these are public figures, and Kanye West has come out and he stated that he has autism spectrum disorder. And so that's why what we do here on Medical Mondays, we take what's in the headlines, we use it for good, so we can find out perhaps about ourselves, our loved ones. We can share this information. Please share, so that we can live our healthiest, happiest lives. That's all we're doing. All right. So bipolar disorder, let's start there. So Kim Kardashian said that he has it. Should she have shared it publicly? That's up for you to decide. He does have a right to privacy. I will share that when we're talking about bipolar disorder, there's bipolar 1, there's bipolar 2. Put in the chat if you know of any celebrities who've been open themselves and shared that they have a diagnosis of bipolar disorder. Put that in the chat, please. But yeah, for the bipolar disorder, it's characterized typically by depression. Okay, and we know that with major depressive disorder, people tend to have sadness, but it's not just your typical sadness. We're talking about anhedonia, inability to feel pleasure, having changes in sleep habits, either sleeping a lot, okay, having hypersomnia, or not being able to sleep, staying up, insomnia, changes in eating habits, even eating more than you normally eat, okay, binge eating in some cases, or just not having an appetite, having anorexia, not anorexia nervosa, the illness, but just anorexia, literally not eating, that can occur. And, perhaps some changes in habits, not doing the things you typically enjoy. These can all be parts of that diagnosis of major depressive disorder, especially if it's happening for weeks, right? 2 weeks or more, and it's just not your run of the mill. Well, with bipolar disorder, you have depression, but then you have at least one episode where you have what we used to call a manic disorder. Okay, you have mania. And with mania, you tend to be very awake, very alert. You might have pressured speech where you're saying things, you're kind of talking at a mile a minute and people can hardly get a word in. If someone interrupts you from speaking, you'll get upset. Okay, so you'll have rapid speech and pressured speech. Got to get it out. You might have tangential thought. Okay, well, we might start off talking about Kanye West and then we go and talk about Wendy Williams. Then I start looking around and talk about something in the sky. I say, oh my gosh, my dogs are behaving pretty well today. Oh my gosh, I got to go pick up the kids at school. And you just start going on different tangents. Okay, and you have a difficulty Sleeping. Usually with the mania, you're not sleeping much. You can stay up for days in a row. You feel like you don't need speech. And you might also have delusions of grandeur. Okay. You might, like if I, at my big age, all of a sudden decide, you know what? I never played tennis, but I saw, Serena Williams doing the crip walk on the stage with with Kendrick Lamar. I think I'm going to go take tennis lessons, not just, for exercise and for sport and socialization. I'm going to go and I'm going to win Wimbledon right now. Okay. That's not likely to happen. And if I really think that can happen right now, probably a delusion of grandeur, given as how I've never been a formal tennis player. So, or if I all of a sudden think, well, I can't really sing that well. I'm a mean alto now. I could hold down the alto section in the choir. This is me. That's true story. But if I all of a sudden think that I can be a lead singer and perhaps I can win, album of the year like Beyonce did right now, starting right now at my big age, not likely. If I did that, give me a tap on the shoulder and say, Dr. Frita, you might be having a delusion of grandeur. Well, that's what happens in bipolar disorder. Okay. And it can go from one side to the other side, one pole to the other. Okay. So, we've seen some behavior with Kanye. And of course, again, we're not his doctors and not judging him, quite honestly. This is a very common disorder, bipolar disorder, one that can be managed. Okay. That's why there are a lot of successful people. I have patients who hold down jobs, do great, love them to death, and you'll know some of the celebrities. So it's treatable. That's my point. With counseling, and in some cases, medications. In some cases, medications are indicated. But Kim Kardashian used to talk about Kanye West, and we've seen him. If you've watched him, followed him, seen him with some of the interviews, you might say that he's had pressured speech. Okay, you might say that some of his thoughts don't necessarily seem logical to you. Not that you're giving him a diagnosis. So that's the bipolar part of it. Make sure after you finish watching this live, check out my video here where I talk about bipolar disorder here on the Dr. Frita YouTube channel. So then there's autism spectrum disorder. Okay. We used to call it Asperger's, the high functioning autism. Now we just have different levels of autism spectrum disorder. And he says that's his diagnosis. And put in the chat if you know what other celebrity, social media influencer, female recently said that she had autism disorder when she was on Shannon Sharp's channel, but then she said that she wasn't diagnosed officially. She diagnosed herself. Okay. Put that in the chat if y'all remember that. But for autism spectrum disorder, it's, most commonly we think about it in young kids. Males tend to get diagnosed 4 times as much as females, but adults can get diagnosed. Like 1 in 45 adults will be diagnosed. And oftentimes it's a diagnosis that was missed as a child. Just to give y'all real quickly, some of the autism spectrum disorder symptoms or signs and symptoms. Symptoms are what you feel. Signs are what you see. Okay. Some of the signs and symptoms might be a person who's not really great with eye contact. They don't like a lot of socialization. Loud noises may really bother a person with autism. To have autism, you don't have to have all of these. I'm just naming some of the potential signs and symptoms. They might be sensitive to touch, people with autism spectrum disorder. So a tap of the shoulder might actually almost feel painful. They don't like to be touched. Some people with autism spectrum disorder. Also, there might be some repetitive motion. They might want to just, fidget with things, fidget with the wheels of something. They might get one of those fidget spinners that used to be popular just to keep, from people seeing how much they like to fidget. What else? Reading the room. Sometimes there's difficulty. They're very literal. Oftentimes people with autism spectrum disorder. So sarcasm and jokes might not land well. They might take you literally if you have on a beautiful outfit. You know the person, you've known them for a while, and you know it's something they might like. And they may be like, girl, that outfit is ugly. Take that off and give it to me. They might not know that you're joking. They might think, you're very rude to say that my outfit is unattractive. So sometimes reading the room and catching sarcasm can be difficult. So these are just some of the symptoms. So either way, Kanye West has come out. He shared that he has autism spectrum disorder. If you look up Autism Speaks, that's an organization which I think does a pretty good job of advocating for people with autism and explaining it well. And if any of these symptoms I mentioned for either one, bipolar disorder or autism, if they seem to resonate with you, a loved one or a family member, make sure you seek help. But Shador, did anyone mention if they think that, just their opinion, this is just an opinion, do they think that Kanye has autism spectrum disorder versus bipolar disorder? And again, we don't know. This is just conversation.
Yeah. So TS.
Hi, TS.
TS says myth for autism, more likely bipolar with his up and down actions.
Okay. And he does have some, what we would call some pretty extreme behaviors. Okay. So that's what you're thinking. And I don't know, Okay.
Yeah. And Tyrone says, Kanye is my brother. I love him to death, but his behavior has become increasingly bizarre. I have always heard that most musical geniuses are usually bipolar.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if it's most, but a lot of people, and I will tell you, I don't know the facts on this and if it's even possible to be quantified, but there are many people who have shared they have bipolar who also happen to be artistic geniuses. I don't know why that is, but I do agree that there are a lot of people who are bipolar who also tend to be artistic geniuses. And I will never sit up here and pretend that Kanye is not extremely talented. But yes, he does have some behavior that's definitely off the norm. But yeah, thank you for participating. And again, I don't know what his diagnosis. I don't know the diagnosis. I'm just sharing what has been shared from him and his ex-wife, Kim Kardashian. All right. Anyone else before we move on?
Yeah, Jasmine chimed in with a couple of people who celebrities who shared publicly that they're
yeah. Hi, Jasmine. Okay.
She says Amanda Seales.
Now, so she shared that she has autism spectrum disorder that she initially did a self-diagnosis on when she was on the Shannon Sharp. So yes, that's it.
And she says actress Jennifer Lewis has publicly disclosed that she has bipolar disorder.
Who has?
Jennifer Lewis.
Oh, yes, she had. Y'all, I love Jennifer Lewis. You're talking about Jennifer Lewis from Blackish. Mm-hmm. And she's always like, oh, Black Jesus. And she's been on many, many films. Extremely talented actor. She's an author as well. Beautiful lady. She has been open. With her bipolar diagnosis. Jennifer Lewis. Yes, I know about that one. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, I consider her to be a creative genius. Yeah. I don't know if there's a relation. Mm-hmm.
And Janet China says Anthony Hopkins, the actor, was diagnosed with autism in his 80s.
Oh, I didn't know that one. Okay. Yeah, there are people who have had a late diagnosis of autism. And it's interesting. I mentioned how males have it 4 times more. It's been diagnosed in males 4 times more than women. And one of the theories is that not necessarily that women have it less, but that women are able to mask symptoms, or some of these kind of repetitive actions that are taken are considered to be female attributes. So a woman who is obsessed with cleaning, just based on this world and some of the, gender roles and sometimes sexism, to be frank, they might say, oh yeah, she's just really clean. She loves cleaning. Where perhaps if a man were doing it, they'd be like, oh, he's got a little bit of obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD or OCD trait. So yeah, but I didn't know about him. Yeah, there's some other people who have shared. I believe Demi Lovato, the singer, has shared a diagnosis. I know that Mariah Carey, yes, Mariah Carey has shared that she has bipolar 1 disorder. She was open about it. Yes, and you see how high functioning she is and how she can sing down. And so I say that not so much to be like, gotcha, I'm exposing celebrities. These are people who've shared it themselves. But more importantly, they're showing that just like, diabetes, cancer, high blood pressure, bipolar disorder is a disease. It's a chemical imbalance. And if you manage it, you can be high functioning and do well. Okay. It's an illness just like any other illness. That's why I'm sharing it. And so for anyone who's been diagnosed, please don't have any shame. Manage it the same as you would if you had any other diagnosis. Okay. It is an illness. It's not about shame. All right. Shall we move on, Shador?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Y'all know that February is Heart Disease Awareness Month. Y'all know what else February is? Black History Month. Yes, it is. Okay. If y'all go to my Instagram at dr.frita, that's where I've done some short form content talking about Black History Month. I opened it up because last weekend, when Beyonce won the Grammy, she was the first Black woman to win a Grammy for Country Album of the Year, Cowboy Carter. So that's Black history. She's also the first Black woman to win Album of the Year this century. The last Black woman to win was in 1999 with y'all tell me who the last Black woman was to win Album of the Year. She won it in 1999. Someone else did. So I have a video on that. And y'all know I like to get up and dance, even though my kids tell me to sit down. And so that bucking, oh shoot. So I have a little video on that if you go to my Instagram. And I also have a video that just released yesterday for Black History Month. I'm particularly proud of this one, but just go check it out. So for Black history content, go there. It's also Heart Disease Awareness Month. I have short form content on there as well, as far as heart disease, cardiac arrest, things of that nature. But today, I want to talk about America's report card. Now, for those of you in the chat who are parents, y'all know y'all stay on y'all kids. Did you study? Do you have good grades? Are you going to get into college? Are you going to get out of my house? Okay, we're always talking about report cards. But America's report card is not that great when it comes to heart disease. Let's play this Good Morning America clip, please, Shador.
All right.
This morning, the American Heart Association released its annual statistical update on heart disease, and our chief medical correspondent, Dr. Tara Narula, who is a cardiologist, is here to break down the findings. Number one killer. So just give us a little bit more on these findings.
The stats are pretty sobering from this report. As you mentioned, heart disease continues to be the leading cause of death for Americans. In fact, cardiovascular disease kills more Americans than all forms of cancer and accidents combined. That's one American every 34 seconds. This report also showed that some risk factors like high blood pressure, diabetes, and obesity continue to rise. So almost 40% of Americans, around that much, are obese. About 50% have hypertension, and almost 60% have diabetes or pre-diabetes. We continue to see disparities along the lines of race, ethnicity, and gender. So Black women have the highest rates of high blood pressure and obesity. Hispanic men have the highest rates of diabetes. It's estimated, Robin, that if this trend continues by 2050, we will see a 300% increase in healthcare costs to our country from this cardiovascular disease if this remains unchecked.
That's amazing. Yeah, not doing so great on our heart disease report card. One person dies every 34 seconds from heart disease. And we're talking about cardiovascular disease. In that case, we're talking about heart disease, strokes, and all of that. And we know, thankfully, that 80% of the cardiovascular diseases are actually preventable. And I mentioned that, in that Irv Gotti short form content that I have, 80% of strokes are considered to be preventable. So I want you to check that out. Shador, can you go ahead and play at least like the first few seconds, maybe 10, 15 seconds of the Irv Gotti short form content? And remember, again, go to @drfrita.com. I have it on Facebook. Facebook is really giving me a lot of feedback, a lot of views on this Irv Gotti post. So check it out there. I have it on my LinkedIn. And sometimes I'll put short form content right here on YouTube. But yeah, so that's the only upside, because it can be pretty depressing just how prevalent heart disease is. But if you think about some of the things that are risk factors for it, like smoking, living with obesity, having physical inactivity, having a poor diet, these are all risk factors, but they're things that you can manage. Okay, so that's the silver lining behind it. Let's see. Music mogul Irv Gotti has passed away at the age of 54. He was the co-founder of Murda Inc. and worked with artists like Ashanti, Ja Rule, and countless others. Reportedly, Irv Gotti was living with diabetes and had suffered with at least one stroke. I'm Dr. Frita, and here are 15 risk factors for having a stroke that you don't want to miss. Okay. Yeah, so I'll go ahead and break those things down. And if you go and especially if you go on my Instagram and put comments on there, I'll make sure I'll go and circle back today if you have questions about those risk factors that I mentioned. Yeah. All right. So now, as we approach the time to close, for some of our members, especially if they have a question or two or a couple of comments, we'll get those in. But remember, if you would like to have a full session of a live Q&A for the highest level of the membership, I monthly do a live Q&A where for the entire session, instead of me doing all the talking, you do the talking. You ask your question. We can drop a link for you to come on stage when we talk about it. And I will sit here and talk to you, your questions. And so instead of, you might have a burning question where you want to see your doctor. And of course, what I share is information. It does not replace advice from your physician, but I can at least give you medical information that you will find very helpful. And so this is a way for just that, doing that membership, you can get a chance to ask me one-on-one. And Shador, and my members will tell you, I will sit there and go back and forth with you. You can ask me questions and we'll fill it up for the entire time. That's with the members at that highest level. Now, if you want to just have a one-on-one with me, then I do offer a telehealth concierge service. Thank you very much. Where from anywhere in the world, we can do a telehealth conference. I'll do a full history and I can give you medical information. I've been having great success with that. So yes, these are just different ways to be able to access me, to pick my brain and see what we can do to help you have a healthier, happier life. All right. So before we close, and for my members especially, go ahead and see if you can put those last minutes in. And if you have a super chat, then you'll move to the front of the class as well and get a chance to ask a quick question here before we go. But I do want to give you a quick 5-minute health check. A 5-minute health check. And this is where I'll just quickly give you just some bullet points on some of the hot health headlines in the news. So let's put up some of these things that are going on. All right, this bird flu. Know I keep talking about the bird flu, but that's because it's for real, for real. We know here in the United States, we have at least 67 cases. We know we have at least one person who's passed away in Louisiana. Even in Canada, we've had a severe illness with the bird flu. Well, now we have even more cases of a different strain of the bird flu, of a different strain of that bird flu. And Shador, do you have that graphic?
No.
The 5-minute health check is the it was okay. All right. So it's just there's at least one strain that has infected another set of cattle. All right. And that's a big deal because now we know that there's at least 2 different strains that have gone from just being in the birds to now being in mammals. So that is an absolute huge deal. We need to pay attention. To our knowledge right now, there's still been no human to human transmission of the bird flu. But remember, especially if you're a poultry worker, if you work with cattle, make sure you get your proper PPE, okay, that protective equipment. And you want to make sure that you wash your hands frequently, and that if you're working with, secretions from a bird, that you don't wipe your eyes, because conjunctivitis is one of the symptoms that you can get. Also, if you're like having a beach day, okay, on Lake Michigan, there have been many, many birds that have passed away on Lake Michigan. And so if you are out there, make sure that you don't let your kids go near and play with any sick looking birds or dead birds. I know a lot of y'all like to go and be Captain Save a Bird, but no, call the officials and let them deal with any sick birds. Don't you go up there and do it, please. The other thing, and Shador, I just sent you something. If you're able to scroll through, maybe you'll be able to see the graphic. I don't know. It was in that same last email. But anyway, so the other thing, so that's with the bird flu. And even if you're not a poultry worker, if you're cooking, they're typically, because birds get so sick so quickly with bird flu, then they are typically able to close the poultry places, and they're able to, make sure that the eggs don't come to us and that the chicken doesn't come to us. But just in case, make sure that if you're eating chicken, if you're eating eggs, okay, these eggs are really expensive. So if you are investing in eggs, just make sure that you're cooking the eggs and the chicken to at least 165 degrees Fahrenheit so that you don't get the bird flu. Okay, so that's that with the bird flu. There's been a recall. Okay, there's been a recall from Walmart with a certain ready to go broccoli. Okay, that's ready to eat broccoli. So make sure that you look and you Google broccoli recalls, because they found listeria. Y'all know we've talked about listeria quite a bit here on this channel. So that's a bacterial infection of food. And the tricky thing about listeria is that sometimes it can stay alive even when the food is refrigerated. Okay, you can still have the listeria even if the food has been refrigerated, which is a little bit scary. And also, listeria, it's an issue. It can definitely cause GI symptoms, okay, like nausea, vomiting. It can even cause confusion and cause you to be very sick and unalive. So make sure you pay attention to recalls. So there's a broccoli that's on recall from Walmart. Another thing I wanted to do in this 5-minute health check is talk about microplastics. Microplastics, okay? So there's a new study, and it shows that microplastics have been found in the brains of people. And they looked at brains from 1997 to 2024, and they found that the microplastics in the brains have gone up. Well, what does this mean? Well, we're trying to figure it out, because when they looked at the brains of people with dementia, they found that people with dementia had 6 times the amount of microplastics in their brains as people who don't have dementia. Now, they're not saying that there's a cause and effect, but there is that correlation. And how do you get these microplastics? We're talking about the polyethylene. So the same plastics that, groceries are bagged with, the same plastics that can be found in a lot of foods and a lot of containers, things of that nature. And so just something to talk about. And if you check out my video right here on the Dr. Frita channel on water and the importance of drinking water, I actually go through in that video and I talk about some of the things that can potentially happen when you drink bottled water. and some of those microplastics that could potentially, in some cases, get into the water. So I'll talk about it there. All right. So that's just a quick little 5-minute health check to send you on your way. So I thank you all for watching. Make sure that you're here and you check us out. We're here every Monday. Share us, please. Like this video before you leave. Also, I have a few appearances. So this week I'm doing a recording for the Portia show. I'm recording it, but it'll play later. It'll air later. So I'll tell you that. But then this weekend, I'm going to be back on Good Day Atlanta. Okay, I'll be back on that news show. So make sure you follow me on other social media platforms. I usually put this on Instagram first. So as soon as I have the exact time and date, it will be this weekend. I'll tell you, I'll be on Good Day Atlanta. The last time I was on there talking about health headlines with Dr. Frita. And so we'll see what I'm talking about this time. I'll let you know. All right, Shador, on our way out the door, do our members have any comments, questions? Or do we have anything we want to say before we head on out?
Yes, ma'am. New member, Nakishi. Hello.
Hi, Nakishi. Welcome.
Nakishi tuned in late. So are there ways to prevent diabetes?
Absolutely. So you are a member, and so I'm gladly going to slow down and take my time and answer this question for you. Yes, there are ways to prevent diabetes. Now, I will say, for some people, there's a genetic predisposition, right, where diabetes might run in your family, and you just might have a higher vulnerability. But just like people say that diabetes runs in their family, guess what? So do the habits of eating fast food. So do the habits of eating carbs. So do the habits of having physical inactivity or sedentary lifestyle. So sometimes, even if it runs in your family, it's the habits. And so ways to prevent diabetes: maintain a healthy weight. Now, classically, the BMI, body mass index, has been used for what a healthy weight is. And if your BMI is over 25, you're considered to be living with being overweight. If it's over 30, you're living with obesity. We do know that the BMI is not the most accurate way to measure obesity, especially in dealing with people who tend to have more muscle mass, denser bones. And in the study that came up with the BMI, there wasn't great representation from Black people and brown people. And so stay tuned. We're starting to readjust the best way. But even, going to your doctor, you can do a DEXA scan. They can figure out your percent body fat, percent body muscle. So talk with your doctor about a healthy weight, but maintaining a healthy weight is one way to prevent diabetes. Also, eating a diet that's low in carbs, a diet that's high in proteins. Also, knowing your numbers. We had someone to mention blood glucose monitoring. And yes, typically people who already have a diagnosis of diabetes have blood glucose monitors, but in some cases, doctors will offer people blood glucose monitoring just to prevent the diabetes. Something else, knowing your numbers. Hemoglobin A1C. Okay, hemoglobin A1C. So typically, when you get your blood test, like your BMP, basic metabolic panel, you'll have glucose there or blood sugar. Well, that's just a quick snapshot in time. It tells you what your blood glucose is at the time of the test. But a hemoglobin A1C gives a blood sugar that averaged over the last 3 months. So if you have a hemoglobin A1C that is less than 5.7, then you are considered to be pretty much in a healthy range. But if it's between 5.7 and 6.4, you don't have diabetes, but you have pre-diabetes. Either way, if you were to learn that you were at risk and that you had pre-diabetes, then that could probably intensify the things that you do in your lifestyle to try to prevent going to diabetes. So I say that to say another way to prevent getting it is to know your numbers. Ask your doctor what your hemoglobin A1C is and what to do to manage that. Definitely exercising. Okay, exercising helps you to maintain a healthy weight and can help to prevent diabetes in many ways. And so, and using the food as medicine that we talked about. Please, thank you for joining. Thank you for being a member. Make sure you check out my videos here. If you go to my you're right here. You're on the Dr. Frita page. But after we finish this live, if you go to the bar, Dr. Frita Diabetes, or if you go to my playlist, even, I believe I have a diabetes playlist. I talk about diabetes explained. I talk about the best foods for diabetes. I talk about the worst food for diabetes. I talk about exercise. I'll give you a lot of information on diabetes because yes, diabetes is the #1 cause of kidney disease. And yes, I am a board certified kidney doctor. It's also a leading cause of heart disease, strokes. And we know that Irv Gotti did have diabetes and reportedly he also did have a stroke. So yeah, we don't have to sit around and be victims of our genetics. There's something you can do. So those are just some of the ways. Thank you for that question. And thank you for joining the membership. For anyone else who wants to join the membership, click the link in the description. We have different levels. I'm telling you, you want to check out that level, especially when we do the live Q&A. And just like I answer her questions, I just sit there for the whole time like this, blah, 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 blah. Or like, y'all know, Charlie Brown. Want, want. Then I love answering questions. All right. Anybody else, Shador, before we closing out of this thing?
Yeah, shout out to our member, Miss Rosalind, checked in late today.
Hey, Miss Rosalind, thank you for joining and thank you for the support. Listen, I'm going to be giving the announcement for our live Q&A, and check out, we have some different tiers of membership. I know you're going to want to keep the tier where we do our live Q&A. What's going on, Miss Rosalind?
All right, she's just saying hello, checking in, and then Janet checking in from way across the pond, the great big pond from Birmingham, England.
Oh, England. Yay. Thank you for joining us. I'm always so excited when y'all come and join us from across the pond and other places. So yes, listen, please go share this with the other folks who are your neighbors and let them know that we're over here on the U.S. giving evidence-based information. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate you.
As we leave out Dr. Mitchell with February being the month of love, as they say, Tyrone and Basil spreading love today, and then we'll head out. Tyrone says, I just love me some Dr. Frita. Her videos are so informative and educational. I learn something new each time I tune in.
Thank you. Thank you. Listen, y'all, if y'all been watching me for a while, y'all know I'm not even playing. This is my joy. Shador, I'm not going to do it. I ain't going to do it. It is my joy. Because what I've learned when I started the YouTube channel, Shador, you know, these videos were meant for my patients because I like to run my mouth and I never have time to say everything I want to say. And so I was going to put these videos on my website and I would be like, okay, I don't have time to talk about this, but check out this video. I don't have time to talk about that. Check out this video. That was my point. My sister, Jetty Mind Tricks, was like, oh, you should do YouTube. And I'm like, I didn't know what YouTube was, but I was like, okay, you know, she usually has pretty good ideas. And so I remember going back and looking on YouTube and being like, let me see if my patients are looking at these videos. And when I looked at the numbers, I was like, there's a lot more people watching these YouTube videos than just my patients. And I started getting the feedback that people just like things explained to them, plain and simple and without judgment. Okay. Don't come in and tell me, you know, oh, you eating that slave food, your grandma. Don't insult my grandma when you're talking to me about my health. Tell me the facts, okay? And perhaps I do need to make some different choices. You know better, you do better. But when doctors insult an entire culture, or just because there aren't huge randomized controlled trials on garlic and celery and beets, don't tell me ain't no data to support that. Beets don't work. Don't tell me that. Say, no, we don't have a large randomized controlled trial, but we do know that beets have nitrates, which your body converts to nitric oxide, and they help to lower your blood pressure. Because that's what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to give you the information. I'll prescribe medicine when needed, and we'll use food as medicine all the time. That's when you come to my office. But if you don't come to my office, meet me right here on the Dr. Frita YouTube channel and every Monday on Medical Monday, and we'll talk about it here. And if you do want to ask me questions, y'all know to go ahead and join that membership at the highest tier, where I'll give you a live Q&A for the whole time. Meantime, between time, mustard on the beat, bro. Y'all, I'm still hyped about the Super Bowl. All right. All right. Thank y'all for joining. Anybody else, Shador?
Yeah, that's Fisher showing love. Basil from the Middle East. I love
Middle East. Oh, peace in the Middle East. Peace in the Middle East. And thank you for joining us, Basil. And I pray that you and yours are safe and well and happy. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, Basil says, I love both of you. Thank you for enlightening us.
Yay. Thank you. Thank you. And y'all know I sit up here going with all this, but y'all know Shador holds it down. She sees y'all comments, which are going pretty rapidly. She's doing things in real time, grabbing pictures, grabbing clips, and keeping everything organized. And y'all know, yes, Shador is my co-host, but she's also been my practice manager, my office manager in my practice for over 12 years. No, it's not child labor. She just looks younger than her age. Don't do it. Don't send the child labor law. She's grown. But yeah, so thank you. And I appreciate you for that appreciation. That's nice. Right.
Thank you, Dr. Frita. And last one, Trina, I love your platform, Dr. Frita. You are the best.
Thank you, Trina. Thank you, Trina. Trina, you know the Trina in my, is it? Yeah, the baddest beat. Oh, anyway, y'all know I'm doing too much. Thank you, Trina. I appreciate you so much. All right. Well, thank you to everyone for joining. Thank you to those of you watching in the replay crew. I see how y'all come back and y'all watch and y'all give comments. Thank you. Thank you. For those of you who join us live, we'll be here again every Monday at noon Eastern Standard Time, where I'm giving you the hot health topics and the headlines. We do myth versus fact. I give you your weekly dose, where I give you a fresh look on medicine that you can't get anywhere else. And guess what? Now I'm going to give you a 5-minute health check where I with a little bit of pressured speech, run through some of the headlines. Make sure that you listen. The one-stop shop is my website, dr.frita.com, drfrita.com. So make sure you check that. Go there for all things Dr. Frita. You can get my book, okay? Under Pressure, A Guide to Controlling High Blood Pressure. You can figure out from that website how to join the concierge, where you can do a telehealth one-on-one. You can go through there or right here to join the membership. And my podcast, for those of you who want to just listen and be on the go, I do have a Healthy, Happy Life podcast where you can hear different information, and you can just enjoy the podcast while you go for a walk, while you go for a run, while you fold the clothes, while you are supposed to be sitting there, listening to a Zoom meeting, but you want to listen to something else. I'm not encouraging it, but if you do it anyway, it may as well be my podcast. All right. I appreciate all of y'all for being here, for watching. Shador, I appreciate you. And we'll see you next Monday. Same bat time, same bat place. I'm Dr. Frita. This is Medical Monday.